Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Cannot hear anything. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna Prabhu. The Supreme Lord works and does not work. He is far away, but He is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet He is outside of everything. God. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This description.
Don't know what happened now. I don't know if this is somehow. Can you see now?
No.
Oh,
it's not shared.
okay. Let me see if I can get that on the screen now. You see now?
It's coming. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Please.
But
This is basically this is basically the guidelines, I guess. This is mantras 1 to 3, the recommended practices really for devotees. This is how we'd summarize it. These are recommended practices. Anyway, go ahead and read, Mataji.
Mantras 1 to 3 recommended practices for devotees. Everything animate and inanimate, visible and invisible within this universe is owned and controlled Krishna. We should therefore only accept those things which are needed and necessary and which have already been set aside as our quota according to our karma. We should not gather or enjoy more than we need and live in harmony with Krishna's creation. If one works in this world in harmony with Krishna and his creation, one may aspire to live for hundreds of years. There is no alternative to this way for a human being to attain liberation. This sort of work will not bind one to the law of karma. The planets meant for the demons are covered with the darkness of ignorance. Such miserable planets become the destination of the killers of the soul after their death.
Yeah. So don't forget the importance of the Ishavasya principle, because it is also your main essay question. So we should have covered everything we need to answer that essay question in the work that we've done so far. But if you do get stuck with the essay question, please do get in touch. Now, I didn't give you a deadline, did I, for submission of that essay? So I'm going to do that now. Before I forget. So today's the 1st, and I think I gave you the essay on the 27th. So these submissions should be with me, the latest, by these essays for the Isopanisad, latest by Saturday the 20th of July. Otherwise, they won't be marked. Okay? So Saturday the 20th of July, and I'm going to put my email address in the let's put my not the my institute address, because that will go to the wrong one otherwise. Let's put my Bhaktivedanta Manor address here. I'm going to put it there. You can send your essays to this email address, and then I'll mark them and I'll forward them on to Padma Mukha Nimai. Yeah, Karuna Mataji, you got your hand raised.
Hey Prabhu, the one you told us, the Isopanisad open book assessment
Yes.
questions, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, the open book. Yeah, the closed book you have to study for, but we're going to have an extra session to make sure we cover all the questions.
Okay.
Any questions anybody have on mantras 1, 2, 3? Or anything you want to add as a comment or a realization or something you wanted to share with the group is also welcome.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam.
Dandavat pranams, yes.
Prabhuji, one question I have.
Yes.
Yeah. Even though if one takes birth in a wealthy family, what is the use if he's an atheist or that family is atheistic? Then it doesn't serve the purpose.
Oh, but that's the thing. You're thinking along the limited material viewpoint, the what if. Yeah. Krishna puts you in a position just for that reason. What will he do? How will he react? He knows beforehand because he's Paramatma, he's residing within. So he knows what your deepest desire is. Sometimes, I don't know if you've been there, we get this pull. You know, you want to go to the temple, you want to do your rounds, you want to go to Mangalati, but you know what? There's a family thing happening tomorrow, and I don't think I should go to Mangalati because then all the timing would be messed up. You're torn between doing this and doing that. The choice is there for you to make, right? So to answer your question, Shashi Prabhu, to you right now with our material conditioning, we may seem, well, what is the use? Because we can't see this bigger picture. We only looking at things from the point of the view of this world, from what we've learned and what we've observed. We need to think outside that box. Does that make sense?
Prabhuji. Yes,
Yeah.
Prabhuji.
The
Hare
only
Krishna.
way one can develop is if obstacles are put in one's way and we tackle them or not. But that's a choice we have to make. And that's the whole point. We have free will. Krishna is the controller of everything. But notice, he says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am not partial to any man. It's quite clear. I'm not getting involved. Maya is there. Maya Devi is there. The three modes of material nature are there to pull you this way, that way, and the other. But the choices you have to make are for you alone. And the path that has been laid out for you alone to tread. Each and every one of us must take our own road, make our own choices.
It's left for us how to overcome those challenges.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beauty. Otherwise, we'd just be robots, wouldn't we? Krishna puts the programming in, we do exactly what he wants. Well, that's not fun for him, is it? He's not a big AI monster. Yeah, he's full of love. And that love comes with compassion and kindness. And sometimes, yeah, anger, because he's unhappy with what we've done. Thank you, Prabhu. Mansi Mataji, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. Prabhu, in that slide where you had mentioned the destinations or results of being godly and demoniac, in demoniac it was mentioned threat of unemployment and problem of hungry stomach.
Yes.
Could you please explain that? I mean, how do we
You
get...
think about people who are constantly having these problems of can't put food on the table, always losing their jobs, nothing seems to go right. You've seen it, yeah? They're always late for work. There's always an excuse. And sometimes you think, I don't believe some of these excuses. This is the kind of character of a person with those ungodly qualities. They can't put things into sensible boxes or even sensible ways of doing, can't define sensible ways of doing things. Yeah, because their consciousness is very disturbed. Oh, and as we start to, as our consciousness starts to come together, as I said, I've been in a situation, I've been an addict before, okay? And through that experience, I learned a lot about myself, but I didn't see what I was doing while I was doing it. It's only in hindsight that I've been able to say, actually, my behavior was something quite extraordinary. The fact that I kept losing my job, or that I kept getting into trouble, or things kept going wrong, I was always having fights with the family, everything was always an argument. Everything was always hard work. That only happens to the kind of people that don't actually put that effort in to realize the resources that we have and use them responsibly. Problem of a hungry stomach. As an addict, what did I do? I wasn't thinking about Krishna. I was thinking about where I get the next bit of cash from to have my next hit, to get high. That's what I was going through. That was my life. Believe it or not, this happened after I left the Catholic Church. I was wonderful, a beautiful, happy life while I lived in the monastery in the church. I was the happiest man on this planet. But within a couple of years of leaving, chasing the career tail, wondering why I'm doing this, that was one of the challenges that Krishna put in my way. He helped me find him in another form, shall we say. And he said, okay, I'm teaching you this, but then I'm going to put you in a situation where you can't cope. Now let's see what you do. Now, I'll be honest, it took 20 years for me to be completely clean. But nobody knew what was going on with me during that period, not even my parents. I kept it very, very secret, but that's what people do when they're in that situation. You don't talk about it, you keep everything secret. You know, you become deceptive as a person. And that's me bearing my heart here online. And this is on a recording, so I don't know if I want to share this now, but I will. It's not something I talk about. It's not something I'm proud of. But I will share it with you just to I guess, highlight, you know, the guidance that's being given here in the Isopanisad, and that it actually works. Look where I am now. I have this most wonderful opportunity from 7,000 miles away, or wherever you are in the world, to associate with Vaishnavas of a like mind. That is helping me to move on. And to be able to share that experience means something to me, because hopefully it might help us to understand what these instructions are all about as well. Does that help, Mansi Mataji? Yes.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
You're welcome. Kalindi Gopapriya Mataji, your hand's raised. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, here we live in apartments. So in apartments, what happens is that there will be beautiful gardens. So Bangalore is a city of flowers, so you can see so many good flowers and fragrant ones. But near to that, it will be written there, God won't accept things that are stolen. Because when we see that flower, we feel like, okay, it would be good if I take it to temple or, put it to God. But at the same time, this board comes. So I used to feel very sad, or why it is written, because they doesn't know. But now after studying, can I take, or is it the way to take that this is not the quota kept for me?
Well, this is a really good point that you raised. I used to live in Mayapur, and I used to live in a place called Rasamrita Kunj there. And in Rasamrita Kunj is a beautiful garden. And in the morning, I would go down and have my little deities, and I used to pick flowers. And one day somebody came around very angrily and told me off. Don't pick the flowers. In fact, don't pick Krishna's flowers. I said, but I'm picking them for Krishna, for my deities. He said, no. So I said, okay, I won't do it. And then thinking about these verses of the Isopanisad, what I should have done is I should have asked. I should have gone to the office and I said, can I nick a couple of flowers every morning, just one or two? And that's all I needed, literally just one or two for the patra, when you're doing the arti, just to offer. And he probably would have said, no problem, just be careful that other people don't see you so they don't get upset. And then it would have become the quota that Krishna's given me. Do you see what I mean? But I wasn't thinking about the other people in that apartment block and the fact that they may also want to enjoy that garden. And whilst I might pay rent there, they're not technically my flowers to pick. They belong to the owners, or they belong to the estate. So I should ask, because it's not really my quota. Yes. But if it was my private garden within that estate, then yeah, I can take, because I'm planting them. Does that make sense? So we should be careful. You see, Ishavasya principle is not just about understanding our quota, but also understanding about how we approach that quota, or how we approach the resources and the people around us, so we don't offend others, because they're also part of Krishna's creation. we have to live in harmony with them as well as the quota. Get it? Yeah. Cool. Thank you. All right. So with that done, let's move on then and talk about. It's already 20 to 5, so we're quite short on time again. So let's move on then to talk about mantra 4. Annejadekam manaso javiya naina deva apnuvan purvamarshat tadhavato jnanatyeti tishtat tasmenapo matarishva dadati. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind, and he can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place he controls those who supply the air and the rain, and he surpasses all in excellence. It sounds complicated, but actually all that's being said here is this, anejad, that the Lord is fixed in his abode. He's not shaking, he's not moving, he's not frightened. Ekam, he is one person among all entities, with no equal or superior, and with a form and full of knowledge. Manaso javio, that he is swifter than the mind. Nainad deva apnuvan purvam arshat, even the powerful demigods that move quickly cannot approach him. Dad dhavato nyan atyatitishtat, he surpasses all others who are running, though he is situated in one place, because he is all-pervading. Tasmin apo matarishva dadati, he controls those who supply the air and the rain. It's a wonderful verse. Question for you, I guess, then. In this verse, how does the Isopanisad, Sri Isopanisad, describe the Lord and his features in this mantra, I guess, is what I want to know. How does he describe? Can you think of something that's being said that strikes out? How is he portrayed? What features do we hear about? Maybe that's a fair question.
Mainly it's about the inconceivable energy of the Lord.
Okay, inconceivable, that's one thing. Inconceivable energy. It's quite an important thing, that his energies are inconceivable. He's inconceivable. We can't understand him. He's so out of this world. Okay, that's one thing.
He controls animate, inanimate.
Yeah, he controls things that are moving and non-moving. Yeah. Anything else, Kalindi Mataji?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, go on.
So here, Krishna is told that no, there is a slight change where we feel that even though it is described a form of impersonalism, but it's not impersonalism. Krishna has form.
Yes.
He can walk, but he can run. He can reach more than the speed of the wind or the mind.
Yeah.
So Krishna has full form. So that is, it's not impersonalism actually.
It's not impersonalism at all, is it?
It's not impersonalism.
Yeah, it's not impersonalism. It's very personal. In fact, it describes all his personal features, doesn't it?
Yes.
I'll come back to you in a minute. Sarvavandya Mataji, you've got your hand raised as well.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, like it says, like he is a master of all demigods who is responsible to supply air and rain, everything, fire.
Yeah, he's the master of all the demigods. What does that say then about us and about the demigods? If he's looking after all the people that supply the air and the rain, and he's in charge of the demigods, he's in charge of us. What does that say?
We are marginal energies of Krishna.
We are marginal energy of Krishna. That's good. Yeah. And what does being marginal energy, what does that imply? It implies that we are dependent upon him. Even the demigods are dependent upon him. Only he's independent. Yes, Susmita. I can't hear you. You're muted there, Susmita Das. Hand is raised. Yeah. Okay. Kalindi Mataji, go on.
Prabhu, is it causes of all causes and controller of controller?
Yeah, he's the cause of all causes. He's the controller of everything. Yeah, that's all there. But we are dependent, aren't we? He's independent. We're dependent upon him.
Yes.
He's supplying the air and the rain, but he's controlling the people who actually make it all happen, right? He's supplying the food. He's supplying the relationships. It says here that even the demigods, they cannot approach him. Yeah, he controls those who supply the air and the rain. Naina, Deva, Apnuvan, Purva, Marshad, even the demigods that move quickly, far quicker than us, even they can't approach him. But it also says he's fixed in his abode. He doesn't move. But his energies are radiating out from wherever he is. And he knows what's going on no matter what he is, because he's faster than the mind. He doesn't have to move, and he knows what's happening millions of miles away, billions of miles away, light years away, in science fiction terms, as they say. So the mantra is describing Krishna as the absolute person, right? He is a person. It picks up on a lot of his personal aspects. He's the absolute truth. He's ultimately a person. It describes his personal features. He's the supreme. He's the fastest. He's fearless. He's incomprehensible, and he's inconceivable to the human mind. It describes him as the omniscient, the omnipresent, the omnipotent, and the source of all action. So there's lots of things going on there. You know, he's omnipotent, he's omniscient, and he's omnipresent. Just as Prabhupada describes, he uses the analogy that although situated in one place, a fire can distribute its light and heat for some distance. So a lot of his personal aspects being described in this mantra. So Prabhupada then explains to us how do we get to how we can get to know Krishna. Yeah. How can we get to know him? Not through mental speculation, through bhakti, through love. Prabhupada says in his purport, would somebody like to read this slide?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Please, yeah.
Can I read?
Yeah.
Love, not mental speculation. The Supreme Lord, who is the absolute personality of Godhead, is not knowable even to the greatest philosopher through mental speculation. He can be known only by his devotees through his mercy.
Yeah. Keep that point in mind while we are discussing this mantra, because it's quite important. But thinking about this, Krishna can only be known, right, through love, through his devotees. There was once a pastime I want you to think about, I want to share with you. Prabhupada was in the US with a group of his disciples and other devotees in a small room. And there's a video of this on the Prabhupada Memories series that you can find. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's there. And he asks the room full of people, how do you know that Krishna really exists? Let me put that question to you. How do you know Krishna really exists? You're all here studying the Sri Isopanisad. You're all here to do your Bhakti Sastri. But how do you know he exists? And how can you prove to somebody that God exists? It's a question that we get asked. It's something that we should be able to answer. Very practical. But yeah, go on. Please.
Yeah, one practical way is when we chant, and if our chanting is being done properly, we feel that happiness. So that shows that Krishna is there.
Yeah, you can feel him. You can feel his presence. In fact, when Prabhupada asked this question in America, lots of people in the room were very quiet, very, very quiet. There was almost pin drop silence. And then one devotee put his hand up and Prabhupada said, yes. And the devotee said, Prabhupada, I know Krishna exists because you told us. And I believe you. And Prabhupada laughed. And he laughed and he said, but I could be lying to you. How do you know that I'm not lying to you and that Krishna is really there? And it's exactly as you just said, Shashi Prabhu. There was silence in the room, but a young man, he put his hand up sheepishly and he said, because Srila Prabhupada, I can feel him. I can feel his presence. Srila Prabhupada smiled with joy. And you may see in the video, maybe tears coming down his eyes at the response. Yes, he said, because you can feel his presence. This is how I know he exists too. And this is part of this mercy that we have from Krishna, that we know he exists. As devotees, we can feel he is there. And what Prabhupada is telling us here, that the Supreme Lord, who is the absolute personality of Godhead, is not knowable even to the greatest philosopher through mental speculation. He can be known only by his devotees through his mercy. These extraordinary characteristics are described in this mantra. And the fact that he is, present everywhere, and that we can feel his presence. Lord Brahma confirms this in his 34th verse, I think it is the Brahma Samhita. Pantastu kotis shatavatsara sampragamyo vayo rathapi manaso muni pungavanam syopyasti yat prapadasim niyachintya tatve govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Lord Brahma says that love, devotion and knowledge that is developed through the love we have for Krishna, when we let out that real devotion, when we let out that love, devotion is developed. And in this verse, Lord Brahma acknowledges that the yogis and the jnanis can take millions of years to go through that process of learning and understanding through mental speculation, but can still only approach the tip of Krishna's toe because they haven't developed that love of Godhead yet. In the Vishnu Purana, it's mentioned that all the creative energies which are inconceivable to a human man, they exist in the Supreme Absolute Truth. These inconceivable energies act in the process of creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the universe. O chief of the ascetics, just as there are two energies processed by fire, namely heat and light, those inconceivable creative energies are the natural characteristics of the Lord. These energies that are being spoken about in this mantra are, as I think somebody mentioned, the following. Let me share this with you. It's described in the purport, Krishna's internal potency, made up of the spiritual sky, the heavenly planets, and the kingdom of God. Then we have the marginal potency, which encompasses the jivas, including the human beings and demigods, and the external potency, which is the material energy, the material world. Now, if we go thinking about these energies, if we go back to the beginning of the invocation, we understand from the invocation Om Purnam Idam Purnam that God is complete and perfect. And everything that comes from him is also complete and perfect. And then we can understand that he must have many energies for this to be possible. The scriptures teach us about these three energies: the internal potency, the marginal energy, and the external potency. There are Sanskrit terms for these, which you're going to learn when you come to do the nectar of devotion, I think it's going to come into. But you will have to learn them. So we understand his many energies make everything perfect and complete. Then we learn in mantra 1, Ishavasya Midam Sarvam, that everything is controlled and owned by Krishna, and that he's supplying everyone's a quota. Again, that must require some energy, distributing all these quotas around everywhere, no? In the proportions that it needs to be, i.e. fairly, according to one's work and karma. So in this mantra, we're being taught about Krishna's extraordinary characteristics. Srila Madhvacharya translates this verse as follows: that the Lord is without fear. He's supreme. He's faster than the mind. The devatas, they cannot understand him completely, but he has understood everything since eternity. Standing in one place, he surpasses all others who move quickly. Under him, Vayu supports the movement of all living beings. Now, considering all of these things and these multitude and this multitude of energies and abilities, if somebody asks you the question, does God really exist? How can you answer? How would you answer? It's 5 to 5. Now we can finish this mantra here today, but it's going to take half an hour. Or we can continue on Thursday. It's Monday today, isn't it? Yeah. Or we can continue on Thursday, up to you. But if we continue on Thursday, I'm going to leave you with this question to come back and feedback to the class. I want a response from each of you. How can we prove that God exists?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, go on, Prabhu.
It's an experience. It's an experience, and from the experience of our senior acharyas, what they have seen, we learn from them.
Okay, so you can have an experience of learning, but you're the man that just said that you can feel Krishna's presence. Did you have to learn how to feel his presence?
No, we have to learn from the experience of our senior Vaishnavas.
Yeah. You can put the two things together, your own experience, and you can take the knowledge and experience from the acharyas. Don't make it just one-sided. You have your own part to play in this. Yeah. So don't forget that part, because you, me, and all these other people in this class, the spirit souls, are just as important. So don't forget to put yourself in that equation. That's the most important bit about this. Yeah. So that's good. Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts about that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, go on.
When we see the creation, this the magnanimous creation, it cannot be done without a brain. So there is a superior brain behind all this creation.
Yeah.
And it needs somebody with an intellectual, inconceivable energy.
Yeah. I mean, just look at the wonder of creation and how everything interacts with each other. There are even tiny little amoeba and bacteria that we cannot even see, yet they are organic, they are living, they are breathing, and they have a function. It might be that they are the bacteria that breaks down the biodegradable, stuff that we throw out into nature. It might be the dog that has to kill the cat to curb the cat population. It could be the parasite that bites the dog because it needs to control what's going on there. Everything has a purpose and everything feeds off another organic or inorganic source, doesn't it? It's a symbiotic relationship. If we take even one of these small beings out of the equation, the whole thing becomes messy. We hear from scientists that science is trying to look at the numbers of certain species of animals to stop their decline, extinction. It's not just because we don't want to lose a valuable species, but that species forms an important part of the symbiotic relationship that goes on in the material world. If we take that species out, things become unbalanced, and Mother Nature has to work even harder to restore that balance, whilst fighting against what we're doing to destroy what she's trying to do, correct? Because that is our nature as human beings. Buy it, waste it, throw it away. It's what we do. So it's a good point you make there, Ari Govinda Prabhu. For me, proving the existence of God is easy enough. For me, ordinary logic and reason prove that God exists just by looking at the wonderful design that's in creation. People look at trees and they don't think anything much of it. That tree is breathing out oxygen that we breathe in. Tree wasn't there, we wouldn't exist. Tree provides food and shelter for other animals. When we're done with the tree, it provides us with what? Building materials for our home, wood for our fire, paper for our work, whatever we do. So for me, it's there. It's there just by the intelligent design we see in nature. Cosmologists and scientists have acknowledged the fact that the planetary alignment is perfectly in line because of a mathematical equation, which incidentally is not a theory. They can prove that mathematical equation, but they can also prove that if it's out by one point of whatever it is, the whole thing doesn't work. It blows up, becomes unstable. The message of the Isopanisad is simple. Krishna, or the Supreme Lord, is not obtained by expert explanations or by vast intelligence, or even just by hearing alone. He's only obtained by one who he himself chooses. And to such a person, he manifests his own form. Yeah, you can find a quote of this actually in the, one second, in the Mundaka Upanishad. You can find something to back that up. Yes. Who was speaking there?
It was me. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's all right, Rangavali Mataji. Go on.
I was just thinking the whole the earth, though it is in a sphere shape, and the water is not falling. There is 75% of the earth is filled with water.
Exactly.
And it is moving with such a speed. Still, the water is not spilling out.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Mataji. Yes. So the earth is a sphere. It's covered in water, as you say, 90% water, but the water doesn't fall. Isn't that a precise piece of engineering in itself? We talked about gravity. Think about that apple. It falls from the tree, but when does it actually fall? It doesn't fall till it's ripe and it's heavy with juice. So when it's ready and it's ripe to be eaten, it falls and it becomes food for the ground or the animals or for the human. That is a precise piece of engineering in itself, isn't it? Everything is there as we need. It works in the way that we need it. Problem is we can't appreciate it. We've got a couple of other hands raised. Kalindi Mataji, yes.
Yeah. I was thinking the Lord can be known by one who has adopted such a submissive service attitude.
Yes.
Perfect knowledge means knowing the Lord in all his features.
Yes.
Knowing his potencies and knowing how these potencies work by his will.
Yes. And you have a question, or you were just making a comment on that?
Saying, how can we know the Lord exists?
How can we know? Well, we're coming to that. Just by looking at nature, we know he exists, because this was there before you were born, before I was born, no? We come in with our hands open, we leave with our hands open. Our parents did the same, and our forefathers did the same. All the resources that they used to build their homes and do their work and eat their food was already there, provided in the fabric of the earth within the 24 elements. It's the magic of the beauty of this intelligent design that we can actually prove it's there. Kalindi Mataji, yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hey, Lord.
I don't know whether it's in line with the thing, but it came to my thought, Prabhu.
Sure.
The instance when we all believe that doctors are the person who save life,
Say
and
that
there
again.
is a moment we all believe that doctors save life,
Yes.
and we see them as God. And there is also one point when they say that now we have done all our thing and rest is upon to God. Just
Yeah.
pray. So I think that is the moment where we all have the faith that there is a God,
Yeah,
someone there
absolutely.
superior to
Yeah.
everything. And
Yeah.
second thought, Prabhu, that when a child is there in the womb, and slowly it takes the form of a human being. So exactly where the position of eyes or the limbs and the heart, everything slowly forms. It won't get dislocated somewhere. There is an exact position. Even we don't know how that is calculation happening, and it takes perfect form and it comes out as a human. Or the calf, it has different. For
Yes.
it is different. So the different things that is happening.
Yeah.
That's what I
And
feel.
you're right. I mean, when that human body or that animal body is forming in the womb, so many different processes are happening. So many different cells are coming together. So many organs are coming together. And all these things, they connect like a machine, like a precise piece of engineering to make it work. I feel hungry. I need to eat. I use my mouth to eat. I'm full. The food is digested. It needs to come out. And there is a place for that to happen. A method for that. Everything is precisely engineered, isn't it? And if we expand that, somebody becomes sick, okay? And I have a healthy kidney and I decide I can donate my healthy kidney to somebody else to survive. Think about the spare parts you have for a car. Right? Go to the garage, car's got something wrong, you transplant something, don't you? Take something out, put something in. Same process, same ideology, same thinking process. And we learn all of this, of course, from nature, didn't we? Think about it. Flying aeroplanes. How did we learn to fly an aeroplane? By observing what is already there in nature. That precise piece of engineering helped us to put together another piece of engineering, using the skills and abilities and the wonderful intelligence and gifts that Krishna has given us to go and do this. We observed that bird, that animal, that beast, and then we built a plane. And then we decided we could put people in this plane. And we figured out how to work with mass and weights and volumes and gravity and everything else. Now that is engineering. But where did we learn it? Through the engineering in nature. We have this limited capability of creating, don't we? In different qualities and quantities according to our desire, according to our work and effort. But all of it is learnt from the natural world. So if we go back to the invocation, we look at Purnam, perfect and complete, we can now identify the perfection, the completeness that's already out there. What makes it seem sometimes less complete is, one, we don't accept it as Krishna's energy, so we misuse it. We also abuse the relationships that we have in our families and with our friends by just looking at it from our point of view, from what I see, what I thought, what I did, not what somebody else might be going through sometimes. But if we take that perfection and completeness and then we look at this living in harmony with Krishna's creation, it becomes possible, doesn't it? It's all a matter of consciousness. And we're not expected to become perfect and complete in every way in this lifetime, or even the next or the next, but we can do a little bit in each lifetime. If we try and push ourselves too much to do too much too quickly, we won't do anything. This is a process. It's interesting, just this thing about God. Well, interestingly, most prominent and brilliant scientists in the world agree that there is intelligent design and there must be a creator, right? let me just share some interesting quotes with you, right? Which I think some of you may know some of these names, others may not know so many. Mansi Mataji, would you like to read this slide, please?
Hare Krishna. Yeah. The probability that life arose by a coincidence can be likened to the probability that a voluminous encyclopedia be the result of an explosion in a print shop. Biologist Edwin Conklin.
It's a very famous biologist.
The gift of mental power comes from God, divine being, and if we concentrate our minds on that truth, we become in tune with this great power. Nikola Tesla.
You've heard of Tesla, you know, the car, and he said that. Amazing, isn't it? And think about that first quote from biologist Edwin Conklin. The probability that life arose by a coincidence can be likened to the probability that basically an encyclopedia is an explosion in a print shop, which we know it isn't. Think about that. When you come across the encyclopedia or an informative work, a literary work, it's created by people, isn't it? It's put together. You know, the cover is designed, the pages are set up and aligned, the text is properly ordered, somebody's wrote it, somebody's edited, somebody's done the pictures, somebody's gone through its readability, but it's a combination, it's a creation of different types of people and machines and things to come up with the final product. It's not an explosion in a print shop. I'm likening, and this is biologist Edwin Conklin, likening the probability that life is an explosion by the Big Bang to an encyclopedia being an explosion in a print shop, which it clearly isn't. I think it's a wonderful quote. And then some other things here. Walter Russell was a doctor of science. He said the cardinal error of science lies in shutting the creator out of his creation. There's a couple of other ones there. A common sense interpretation of the facts suggests that a super intellect has monkeyed with physics, as well as with chemistry and biology, and that there are no blind forces worth speaking about in nature. The numbers one calculates from the facts seem to me so overwhelming as to put this conclusion almost beyond question. That was by Fred Hoyle, he's an astrophysicist. Basically said there has to be a God, there has to be creation, otherwise none of this is possible. And lastly, Isaac Newton. He said the most beautiful system of the sun, the planets and the comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. Famous scientist. William Bragg, Nobel Prize in Physics, 1915, said religion and science are opposed, but only in the sense that in which my thumb and forefinger are opposed. And between the two, one can grasp everything. Einstein said, my religiosity consists in a humble admiration of the infinitely superior spirit that reveals itself in the little that we, with our weak transitory understanding, can comprehend of reality. For these big, you know, figures to be talking about God in that way actually is quite something, isn't it? So we see, you know, all these inconceivable potencies. I just want to share, just to sort of wrap up this mantra, because we're nearly done on this mantra. Actually, we can finish this the next 5 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes. If we look at everything from that point of view, from the point of view of intelligent design, and the fact that everything is already here, provided for our use, these resources, and that our job really is just to understand them, manipulate and mix these resources to get the things that we need. Prabhupada explains to us that actually taking all this process, you know, all these instructions given in the Isopanisad into account so far, we can understand that for some people this may be very difficult to comprehend and understand or to accept, but not for Krishna's devotees, because Krishna is understood by his devotees. And he explained this very beautifully actually in a lecture given on the Isopanisad on mantras 2 to 4 in Los Angeles in 1970. I'm just going to share an excerpt of that lecture with you, if I may. And if somebody would please have a read of this.
May I, Prabhu?
Yeah, go on, carry on.
Krishna is understood by his devotees, not by others. Krishna himself takes charge of the devotees, and the ordinary living entities are taken charge by Maya. Maya is also Krishna's agent. Just like good citizens, they are taken care of by the government directly, and the criminals are taken care of by the government through the prison department. They are also taken care of. In the prison house, the government takes care that the prisoners are comfortable, they get sufficient food. If they are deceased, they receive hospital treatment. Every care is there, but under punishment. Similarly, in this material world, there is care certainly, but in a punishment way. If we do this, then slap. If you do that, then kick. If you do this, then this is going on. This is called threefold miseries. But under the spell of Maya, we are thinking that this kicking of Maya, this slapping of Maya, this thrashing of Maya is very nice. You see, this is called Maya. And as soon as you become Krishna conscious, then Krishna takes care of you. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masucha. So as soon as you surrender, Krishna's immediate reaction is, I will care for you. I'll save you from all sinful reactions. There are heaps of sinful reactions in our life for so many lives in this material world. And as soon as you surrender to Krishna, immediately Krishna takes care of you and he manages to adjust all the sinful reactions. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masucha. Krishna says, don't hesitate. Don't think that, oh, I have committed so many sinful activities. How will Krishna save me? No. Krishna is all powerful. He can save you. Your business is to surrender unto him and without any reservation, dedicate your life for his service, and thus you'll be saved.
Thank you, Mataji. Explains it very nicely, doesn't he? Prabhupada there. So, mantra 4, really, I guess, here in a nutshell, is that Krishna is beyond our material vision and can only be known by the sincere seeker. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, does he not, that he is impartial. He's partial to no man. He's completely impartial. He doesn't get involved. If you want to know him, that's fine. If you don't want to know him, that's all right. He won't appear for you. This mantra teaches us that Krishna is Anyan Atyati, that he surpasses all in excellence. He's inconceivable. He's absolutely unlimited. And it is impossible for us to approach him by our limited senses, means, or experience. In the last mantra, mantra 3, the end of the Ishavasya principle, we learned about the fate of those who act in ignorance of the position and omnipotence of Krishna. Mantra 4 here explains how the Lord is beyond our material vision and why he will only reveal himself to the sincere devotee and not to the soul who does not wish to know him. Any questions or anything you want to add before we close?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Pranam.
Shashi Prabhu, yes.
Yeah, Prabhuji. One aspect to share about this verse 4, mantra 4. Yeah, to know, yes, Krishna really exists. We know that everything is, there's somebody who has designed this entire world. If we take a tree, the leaves are, they grow radially, and there is a mathematical relationship even in this. From one leaf to the next leaf, there is a Fibonacci series.
Yes.
And that golden ratio is perfectly maintained so that every leaf gets the sun rays. Equal proportion.
Yeah.
So there's a mathematical relationship.
There is.
if we try to understand this subtle thing, then we can understand there is some super intelligence which is controlling all these aspects.
You can, and this is something actually, although we've known about the Fibonacci sequence, this is what you're referring to there, isn't it? We've known about the Fibonacci sequence for many, many years. It's a series of numbers. What we've discovered recently, or science has actually discovered, and now is being shared very widely across the scientific community, is that there is a mathematical and numerical relationship between everything in nature, and we can prove it. In fact, you can take a sunflower, for example, any sunflower, right? If you take that central piece of the middle, you'll see lots of seeds, black seeds. They actually line up in a spiral, right? That spiral, you'll find the same number of seeds in each sunflower. And that spiral forms the Fibonacci sequence. That spiral is also the same spiral shape that you find that the creature makes in a shaligram. Yeah?
Yeah.
And
Yes,
there is a whole
absolutely.
documentary actually recently being produced. Actually, there's another one being produced at the moment with some devotees and some scientists from Oxford University. You know, and it's all about spirals in nature. And the mathematical equations that we can find in nature that we can use to actually identify that there is a numerical and very precise mathematical relationship with much of what we see in nature. Is a really good point there. Thank you for sharing that, Shashi Prabhu. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, not only in plants, we see this happening even in the planetary system.
We do, yeah.
The golden ratio is being maintained everywhere.
It is, and this golden ratio is what I was referring to earlier when I said that cosmologists and scientists now agree that if that planetary alignment was out by one point of whatever it is they measure it by, the whole thing wouldn't work. It would collapse. We'd all blow up. But it's almost like it's precisely held in place. Exactly. Many people may say, you know, many people may say, you know, that this is all coincidence and this is all part of the scientific Big Bang explosion. But it doesn't explain many things like personality. How can inert, inorganic matter combine to produce what we have in terms of emotion, in terms of feeling? Tell me that, for one. However, the Bhagavatam explains it with the 24 elements. Because the 3 modes are there. The false ego is there as part of those 24 elements which are put into play. If you can, to understand this a bit more, you can read the 22nd chapter. I think it's of the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 11th skanda, yes? 22nd chapter. There is a whole section devoted to the interaction of the material elements. It's very, very interesting, and it's very logically explained. I wouldn't have believed any of this a few years ago. It was a lot of mumbo jumbo. But I can't say that anymore. Anyway, let's stop there. We're 25 past 5 nearly here in London, which I think must be coming up to 10 o'clock there in India. Yeah, so it's quite late for you. So I'll leave you now. And I'll looking forward to seeing you again all on Thursday. We'll talk about mantra 5, and we'll get into mantra 6 and 7 as well. Please do read those purports as well, particularly for mantras 6, 7, and 8, which describe the character of a Krishna conscious person. It's really important, that verse as well. Yeah. Okay. Have a great week. I'll see you on Thursday. Please accept my humble obeisances. Vancha kalpatarupyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti vaishnav vrindaki. Jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Very good.